Hi guys, welcome. Welcome to my educational channel. Uh, Today I'm going to explain you the important concept in the JavaScript. This is my continuation to my educational channel concepts regarding the fundamental concepts of JavaScript. And today, before going to that chapter, firstly, I wanted to clarify something because most of my LinkedIn connections were asking me, why were you posting these videos on the LinkedIn? So why means basically I'm working on my YouTube channel. So I want you to let you know the YouTube channel. I am working on it. Before that, I want to work on search engine optimization and all those, and I want to build my contacts to the YouTube. So hence I thought LinkedIn is you know rehearsal for my lecturing session. So LinkedIn is a very good platform where you can post those videos and post to lecturing session so that it will grasp the audience mind, and then they will enhance and they will revise those fundamental concepts of JavaScript. So what I thought was, you know, posting the videos in LinkedIn will help me to create much more contacts, and so that I can this will be the building blocks to create a YouTube channel, right? So that YouTube channel I will be creating in two languages. One is Kannada and one is English. So in Kannada, I'm going to go deep dive and detailedly I will do the video regarding the fundamental concepts. If you like the JavaScript videos, and then I'm definitely going to create a videos on React applications. So please keep supporting me. And this is just a fundamental building blocks of the platform. So that I'm posting these videos on LinkedIn so that I can get a maximum reach to create a YouTube channel. So and then also I'm going to create a first YouTube channel on Kannada, and I will explain you the deep dive into the concepts of JavaScript in Kannada. I'm going to explain you. So stay tuned for this. And today let us go and you know let us dive deep into the let const, where this is a very important concepts in JavaScript. So let us go and dive deep into it. So coming to, yes, what is a let const var in JavaScript? JavaScript var let const is the type of the variables declared. You know. So basically, I will go before going to let var and const. So I will tell you about the block scope in JavaScript. The block scope is nothing but the area which is under the braces, curly braces. That is what is known as a block scope. For example, in any languages, I don't want to take an example for any other language. Let us concentrate on JavaScript. So under the curly braces, whatever you write, that comes under a block scope. For example, if, for loop, for of, for in, all those loops, whatever you write, whatever you declare the variables, that comes under the block scope. That is what we known as a block scope. So before that is a concept of a block scope. I will tell you the concept of a JavaScript hoisting first. What do you mean by hoisting? Hoisting is nothing but, for example, before executing your part of the JavaScript code, before executing the part of your JavaScript code, the declarations of the functions and the variable will be moved to the top of the scope. That is a global scope. It will be moved to the top of the scope, and it will be declared separately. Correct? I will tell you the example. So remember just this. Hoisting is done for both for all of the let, var, and const variables. But in var, what happens is when the hoisting will occur automatically whenever you run the JavaScript code. The hoisting will occur automatically. It will move to the top of the scope, right? So let instead of the var, when you use var keyword and you declare it, you declare it, when you initialize the var keyword without any proper declaration, so what happens is hoisting will move the declaration to the top of the scope, and it will assign the undefined for the var keyword. So in case of let and const, it will be moved to the top of the scope, but it cannot be initialized with proper default initialization. So that is the difference between let, var, and const. So this is the theoretical part. I will explain you the practicality of that. So I will give you one good example for that. So just watch watch my video. Watch what I code here. So just watch this statement, right? Watch this statement. What happens here? So when you execute this part of the code, what happens behind the scenes? What do you think it will happen? When you execute this code, that is what hoisting is. Just observe it. What is hoisting? When we execute this code in the JavaScript engine, that is V8 engine, what happens is this var will move to the top of the scope, right? To move to the top of the scope, and this will be initialized with undefined, correct? And when you going to console.log this number, right? You're not initializing this number, but you're just console logging it. This is before hoisting. Just remember this, before hoisting. This is after hoisting, correct? So var number is equal to undefined. So when you try to console.log, so then it will come here, var number is equal to, now it will override it. You try to console log it. What do you think it will happen? Let me execute this part of the code here. Let me execute this part of the code here. So you will get 1,000, because behind the scenes what happens is, this is what is happening. You are not declared this variable, you are just assigning the variable directly, var number is equal to, you are initializing it, you are not declaring it. So behind the scenes what happens is, this number will be moved to the top of the scope, and it will be assigned with the default initialization, which is undefined. So when you're trying to console log it, you are getting the 1,000 value, right? So it is overriding. Behind the scenes it is happening like this. This is the simple example for hoisting. This is what happens. So the declaration of the variables and the function will be moved to the top of the scope, and it will be in case of var, it will be initialized with default initialization, that is undefined. So that is what happening here. So coming to let and const, what's happening here? The same example I'm going to take a let number is equal to 200. So this is before hoisting. So after hoisting, what it becomes, I'll tell you that. Same thing will happen here. Copy this code off here. So instead, there will be a not. This is a default initialization, what is happening behind the scenes. But in case of a let and const, there will be no default initialization. So what happens is, the number will be moved to the top of the scope, which is not inaccessible. So when you try to console log this number, let me console log this. You will get a number is already been declared, right? So I'll open a new tab, sorry. So that is already saved. So what happens is, yeah, behind the scenes this is what happening, but at that time you cannot access that variable due to the temporal dead zone concept. So there is a concept called temporal dead zone. You cannot access the variable which are hoisted in place of in terms of a let and const, right? So I'll give you the proper example for that. So you take this example, all right. Show you this. So you observe here what is happening here. So let is declared inside a block scope, right? Inside a block scope, that is, I already told you, if you enclose within a curly braces, that becomes a block scope, right? So here let favorite number is equal to 1000. You're initializing it. Behind the scenes, what is happening here? Behind the scenes, this let will be after hoisting. What it will become? After hoisting, this favorite number will be moved to the top of the scope, and it will not be initialized because it is a due to a temporal dead zone. So you cannot access the variable will be in a temporarily dead state. You cannot access that variable. So when you move to the when this move to the top of the scope, and this favorite number you're trying to access outside the scope, you're trying to access it because it has already a block scope, right? I already told you let and const has a block scope. So that is why it will throw a reference error. So same example in the const also, it will throw a reference error because you're trying to access this variable outside the scope, correct? You are declared and re-initializing this const variable inside a block scope, and then you are trying to access this variable in the globally. So after hoisting, what it becomes, this favorite number will be moved to the top of the scope, and that variable will be in the temporarily dead state. So that is why you are not going to access those variables for the let and const. So this is known as a temporal dead zone. Temporal dead zone. So the temporal dead zone, you can see here the definition, which is associated with the variables which is declared with the let and const. During the temporal dead zone, the variables are almost dead. We cannot access those variables. So inaccessible variables, inaccessibility of let and const. This concept is known as a temporal dead zone. Temporal dead zone. So I'll tell you the example for let versus var versus const hoisting. So suppose you take this example console.log even number and let even number is equal to 1 or 2. What are you doing here? You're trying to console log it before even the declaration. Behind the scenes, what happens is after hoisting, it becomes let even number is, after it is hoisted, it will move to the top of the scope, and you can see here this even number is hoisted and you cannot access this variable. When you try to access this variable console.log even number before initializing it, you will get an error. Let me execute this part of the code here in the console. We'll get an idea what is happening here. As you can see here, it is showing some. Sorry, I'll execute the same code in the new tab. Sorry. This is the sorry. 1 second. My bad. This is a commented section. So you can see undefined is printed. Why undefined is printed? Because it's not defined, right? Even number, it will be moved to the top of the scope, and it is inaccessible. That is due to the temporal dead zone. So this is how this let and var hoisting occurs. Const let var hoisting occurs. So let me give you another example. You can see here console logging it before even initializing it. So when you try to access this variable, it will be in the temporarily dead state. So that is what is happening here. So this is a temporal dead zone concept. Next, I will show you the functional hoisting. So carefully observe this. Carefully observe this functional hoisting. What is this? So here you are calling the function before this, right? Before initializing and declaring the function, you're calling the function. In this case, you will not get error, because during hoisting, what happens is this declarations of the function will be moved to the top of the scope, and the order will be reversed. First the function declaration will come, and then the functional call will come. So the order will, even though you are calling the function first itself, the order will differ, because after hoisting it will reverse that order, and then if you call this function, this functional function will get executed. Let me show you that. So you can see here, good morning Mohan Kumar. So I'm passing the name as a full name, so it will, the functions gets executed, correct? So I did the wrong way, opposite way, sorry. So let me show you this part of the code here. As you can see here, firstly I'm calling the function here, and I'm declaring the function. So it again this will be get executed, right? So that is what I'm trying to say here. So if you take a same example using a function expression, so just look at this example here. I'm doing the same thing, and I'm declaring the function and assigning to the variable that is known as a functional expression. What I'm doing is, so in this case what happens is, after hoisting, just observe it. After hoisting, let will be moved to the top of the scope, and it cannot be accessed. It's inaccessible due to the temporal dead zone. Due to the temporal dead zone, it will be inaccessible. So when we call this function, what happens is the greetings type will be undefined. So what happens is, then the declaration will happen, right? So the order will become like this. So you are trying to call this function before the initialization, right? Before initialization, you are calling this function. So you will get a reference error. You cannot access greetings before initialization. So this is what is happening here. The same example I'm going to give with the const. This is the same thing will happens with the const also, because you are trying to access these greetings before the initialization. So just look at this example. I'm calling this function, and then I'm declaring the greeting function. After hoisting, what it becomes? The greetings will move to the top of the scope, and it will be dead. And this greetings, you are trying to access it. You are calling this function, and you will get a reference error. You cannot access that greetings function before initialization. This is what is happening here. So yeah. So this is about functional hoisting. Next, coming to the global scope. So what happens is, so whenever you declare in JavaScript, whenever you declare the variable using var keyword, that will be added to the property list of the global object. That is a window object. Already in the earlier session I told you there will be two types of objects. One is a window object, that is a browser's object. One is a global object, correct? So it will be added to the property list of the global object. Whenever you declare the variable using a var keyword, then it will be added to the property list of the global object. So in case of we have a window object as a global object in case of our browser. In case of a Node.js, we have a global this. So I'll tell you the example. So One second. Sorry, my browser has. Okay. Window. So as you can see, when I press window, window has several properties, right? Window is an object. So just observe this. I'm declaring one x variable, all right. X is equal to 10. In the global scope, I'm declaring this variable. Okay. When I try again, when I do the window object, this x will be added to the property list of the window. Here, as you can see here, right? X is added, correct? So this is how behind the scenes works, my dear friends. So when the same thing, when you declare using the let keyword, it will be not added to the property list of the global object. It will not add. It will be not added. So what happens is, when you try to access the window object, it will be not added, right? As you can see here, I will go to the y keyword. Only x is there. After that, there is no y, right? It will be not added. Same goes with the const. It will be not added to the global property list of the global object. So this is how let var const differs in terms of a global object. In the next thing is redeclaration. So as you can see here, so var counter you are declaring initializing, and then you are re-initializing that var counter and redeclaring it, right? Redeclaring it. So when you console log this, you will get the updated value here, right? You will get the updated value here. When it comes to the let and const, redeclaration is not at all possible. You have to remember this. You cannot redeclare using let and const. That is the major difference between var and let and const. So that is why industry prefers to use let and const. Nobody uses var. If you are a JavaScript developer, if you are using a var, then you are in a very very comedic state, you know. So that is why this is a major difference you have to carry. So redeclaration is not at all possible in let and const. In case of var, you can redeclare it. When you console log the same variable, you will get the updated value. So coming to this, one second. So I'll record the next in part 2. So stay tuned. Thank you for this session. Bye bye.